The end times are approaching, and this is why. Hey guys, Britt here. Welcome to End Times Bible Prophecy. The end times are fast approaching, and we already know about the emergence and convergence in our time of all the signs that Jesus and the prophets said to look for. But certain developments taking place right now, I believe, point to one of those signs in particular. Which one? Global empire. So in today's video, we're going to talk about what's happening right now, why it's such a big deal, and how it all relates to Bible prophecy. But first, before we do that, just a quick update. Many of you may have noticed there was no premium article or video on Saturday. I failed to mention that in the Monday video and address that. Then yesterday, normally on Tuesdays, we have an article over on the Substack. We did not have one yesterday. So this is a temporary thing. The format isn't changing, but temporarily those content pieces on Tuesday and Saturday are on hold. I'm having to spend more time than normal caring for my dad. So these Monday, Wednesday, Friday videos are what I'm able to keep up with right now. But the regular Tuesday and Saturday content on Substack will be back as soon as possible. So, what are the certain developments taking place right now that point to global empire? Let's start with this right here. So this is from Zero Hedge. From back in July, it says, watch, Chinese military unveils robot murder wolves, drones that definitely violate Asimov's laws. It says the Chinese military conducted tactical exercises integrating robotic wolves and infantry-operated drones, underscoring Beijing's push to deploy unmanned systems in modern combat operations. And here we see this video that walks through what they're talking about. We've seen these for years, but now we're seeing them integrated on the battlefield into exercises. There's much more sophisticated things than this that are coming on board right now, online right now. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. But it says the 76th Group's Army's drills focused on battlefield coordination between personnel and autonomous technologies for reconnaissance, strategic point clearing, fire support, and breaching defensive positions. The exercises represent China's latest effort to advance unmanned warfare capabilities among growing global competition in military robotics. And that's the key. We're seeing a competition war. There is a race on to win AI, to win quantum computing, to win swarm technologies. And while nobody's talking about it, there is a race for something called molecular manufacturing. And all of these things are going to completely transform the globe, and I believe lead to global empire. This goes on. It says the robotic wolves, branded Steel Warriors, debuted in the 2024 Airshow China exhibition before being deployed in joint exercises with Cambodia. During the 2024 Golden Dragon exercise, China fielded a rifle-armed robotic wolf for assault operations. The follow-up Golden Dragon 2025 exercise featured a UAV equipped with a QBZ-95 assault rifle, providing fire cover for ground units, so air cover automated by an unmanned aerial vehicle. So we're seeing more and more drones are being deployed in the battlefield, and that leads us to this right here from Reuters. So this says, spy cockroaches and AI robots. Germany plots the future of warfare. This says, for Gunbert Scherf, the co-founder of Germany's Helsing, Europe's most valuable defense startup, Russia's invasion of Ukraine changed everything. And we've been talking about how it is showcased, it's highlighted the capabilities that drones have, the advantages drones have over conventional military technologies. And so now, all across the world, we're seeing a transformation of military forces. It says Scherf had to fight hard to attract investment after starting his company, which produces military strike drones and battlefield AI just 4 years ago. Now, that's the least of his problems. The Munich-based company more than doubled its valuation to $12 billion at a fundraising last month. Quote, Europe this year, for the first time in decades, is spending more on defense technology acquisition than the United States, said Scherf. Did you hear what he just said there? So most people still see the United States as the undisputed leader, but Europe is going to fast surpass them if this continues. And of course, the EU, taken as a whole, is the world's largest economy, even though we tend to separate the individual member nation states as an economy. So they have the ability to do this going forward. Says the former partner at McKinsey & Company says Europe may be on the cusp of a transformation in defense innovation akin to the Manhattan Project, the scientific push that saw the U.S. rapidly develop nuclear weapons during World War II. Quote, Europe is now coming to terms with defense. Reuters spoke to 24 executives, investors, and policymakers to examine how Germany, Europe's largest economy, aims to play a central role in the rearming of the continent. Chancellor Merz's government views AI and startup technology as key to its defense plans and is slashing bureaucracy to connect startups directly to the upper echelons of its military. Shaped by the trauma of Nazi militarism and a strong post-war pacifist ethos, Germany long maintained a relatively small and cautious defense sector sheltered by U.S. security guarantees. Well, and we see how those are going away. They can't count on that anymore, or at least they feel they can't count on that anymore. Germany's business model, shaped by a deep aversion to risk, has also favored incremental improvements over disruptive innovation. No more. With U.S. military support now more uncertain, Germany, one of the biggest backers of Ukraine, plans to nearly triple its regular defense budget to around $175 billion per year by 2029. Much of that money will go into reinventing the nature of warfare. Helsing is part of a wave of German defense startups developing cutting-edge technology from tank-like AI robots and unmanned mini-submarines to battle-ready spy cockroaches. Quote, we want to help give Europe its spine back, said Scherf. So the goal is to reinvent the nature of warfare. So this defense spending is not going into the conventional weapon systems that are failing on the battlefield in Ukraine. It's going into innovative, cutting-edge technologies such as spy cockroaches. It says some of the ideas under development feel akin to science fiction, like swarm biotactic cyborg cockroaches that are equipped with specialized miniature backpacks that enable real-time data collection via cameras, for example. Electrical stimuli should allow humans to control the insect's movements remotely. The aim is for them to provide surveillance information in hostile environments. For example, information about enemy positions. Quote, our bio-robots based on living insects are equipped with neural stimulation sensors and secure communication modules, said CEO Stefan Wilhelm. They can be steered individually or operate autonomously in swarms. And guys, we've talked about this on a number of occasions. China has done the same thing with bees. They have cyborg bees for the same purpose. And we see that God's design is being counterfeited into these technologies. It's being integrated into these technologies. They're copying what already works. They're copying nature and militarizing it through these technologies. And so the future of warfare is not armored tanks from World War II. Certainly the future of warfare isn't even the quadcopters and drones we hear about today. The future of warfare is swarms of mechanized bees and locusts and ants and cockroaches and birds and fish. And we've been over a number of these things. They're called biomimetic drones that mimic nature, mimic the design that God has put in place. and they can operate onboarded with AI in decentralized swarms that will overwhelm conventional defense forces. So think about it. We already see on the battlefield in Russia, Ukraine, soldiers running around trying to get away from just one quadcopter drone that's being powered by someone far away, like a computer game. But what happens when those soldiers or those tanks, whatever conventional military capabilities are out in the battlefield, are facing an entire swarm of much smaller, more sophisticated, more powerful drones that are acting in tandem? Again, we said in the past, imagine trying to fire a projectile. You know, you've got a shotgun or any firearm, and you're trying to shoot at a swarm of bees. You think that's going to be successful? No. Yeah, maybe you'll get lucky and you'll take out a bee or two, but that swarm is still coming to get you. It will not be deterred. It will still come after its prey, coming after you to attack. And despite what we've seen recently with Epirus and some of these other companies are putting out conventional defense systems that they say, look, we did a battlefield test and all these drones flew in and we fired this microwave at it and they just fell to the ground. We've solved this problem. But they have not solved the problem because they're operating those tests under ideal conditions with an enemy that doesn't think. It would be like me saying, well, look at how successful this tank is against the redcoats marching in line in an open battlefield coming straight at us. Well, yeah, it's successful, but that's not how the real world is going to be. You're going to have all sorts of assets that are friendly to you in the way in this battlefield. The range of those systems will be learned very quickly by drones that are onboarded with AI. They'll simply work around it. You know, these systems are not going to be able to keep up with the pace of innovation that's taking place on the battlefield, especially with companies like this. And if Europe's pouring into this, well, Europe's going to be at the forefront of being able to create the military of the future. And that has prophetic implications. All of this has prophetic implications. Because when you take these technologies, you take artificial intelligence, you take quantum computing, you take molecular manufacturing, and nations are racing to create all of these things. You can build these autonomous, decentralized swarms at mass scale, very inexpensively. Once you do that, mutual assured destruction is no longer in play. It is no longer in effect. And that's what's kept the world from World War III since the end of World War II. And so once that happens, whoever is the leader in these technologies has a choice. We can allow a second power to emerge, and we engage in this unstable arms race that results in a cataclysmic war, or we can use our advantage now to conquer the earth and establish a global empire. I've long submitted that that second option is the one that will be taken by whoever develops this. And that coincides with exactly what we read in the Bible. We read in Revelation chapter 13, verse 4, says they worship the dragon for giving the beast such power. And they also worship the beast. Who is as great as the beast, they exclaimed. Who is able to fight against him? With these systems, the answer is no one except Jesus Christ, which is what the Bible says about the end times and the Antichrist. We also read in Revelation chapter 13, verse 7, and the beast was allowed to wage war against God's holy people and to conquer them. And he was given authority to rule over every tribe and people and language and nation. So there's going to be a global empire that is ruled by one individual. These technologies that we're seeing developed right now will create the power and the capability to do exactly what we read in the Bible. Does that mean that they will be? No, it doesn't mean that. But it means that using the observation, the gifts of observation and thinking that God has given us, we can see that our generation as the first where we're seeing these types of technologies come along that would enable that to happen outside of the supernatural. About this, we read in Daniel chapter 7, verse 23. It says, "Then he said to me, this fourth beast is the fourth world power that will rule the earth. It will be different from all the others. It will devour the whole world, trampling and crushing everything in its path." Guys, we know from history that this fourth beast was Rome. So we had Babylon, the Median Persian Empire, we had Greece. Those were the first three beasts that are referenced in Daniel chapter 7. The fourth was Rome. Well, that's why people have said there's going to be a revived Roman Empire. What do we see today? We see these nations coming together, individual nations coming together in the European Union. They fit in every way the characteristics that we read in Daniel chapter 2 of this final world empire, except we don't see 10 nations. See, I think 27 or so in the European Union right now. So I'm not sure how that plays out, but we're seeing a revived Roman Empire that's pouring more resources into rearmament than the United States of America, long considered the world's most preeminent military power. And they're pouring those resources not into these antiquated weapon systems that have been overwhelmed by drones on the battlefield, not just in Ukraine, but in the Red Sea. And they're pouring those into biomimetic drones, AI, quantum computing, and I would say molecular manufacturing, but that's not in the news media. They're not talking about that. Nations aren't talking about that. So guys, all of this, again, is this how all of this plays out? It's my opinion that yes, it's how it plays out, but I could be wrong. I do know this, the Bible is not wrong. So global empire is coming. We know the signs of the times. We know what Jesus and the prophets told us to look for. And again, we see those signs emerging and converging in our day and time, telling us this is the season of the Lord's return. We're headed straight for the 7-year tribulation. So is it coincidence that we see these types of technologies being developed right now? I think the answer is no, it's not a coincidence. But let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. Before we go, just a reminder again, head over to brittgillette.substack.com and hit the subscribe button. When you do, you'll receive this free ebook, 7 Signs of the End Times. Again, this is exclusive to subscribers of the Substack, which you can do for free. So free ebook, free subscription. You'll get notified of videos just like this, as well as other content that goes up. So guys, let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. God willing, I will see you on Friday. Bye.